We've all been there. You're getting ready to start playing D&D and you got a couple of your players showed up and they're ready to go, but one or two people aren't ready yet. They either haven't shown up or they told you that they're gonna be late and they keep delaying and delaying until eventually you realize that they're not gonna be here. So what do? Do you keep playing without those players? Do you delay until those players can be here, or do you just cancel the session? It depends on 3 factors. 1, the size of your group. 2, how long into the campaign are you? And 3, how close are you with your group? If you have a small group of maybe 3 to 4 players, if one person doesn't show up, that's more than 25 to 33% of your entire group is missing. If you're early into the campaign, you may be okay playing without them and then simply filling them in on what happened next session. However, if you're pretty deep into the campaign and have been playing for several months, you maybe should just delay the session and do something else with the group that did show up. Run a one-shot, play some board games, or just do something else to entertain everybody who did come all the way to your place to play D&D. Just because one person didn't show up doesn't mean that the entire session is ruined all the time. However, going to the second point, if you have a large group of maybe 6 or even 7 players or more, if 1 or even 2 people don't show up at that point, I still say it is safe to play with the others who did. Because when you get to a large group, when one person doesn't show up, you no longer are missing 25% of your entire play group. You're missing far less than that. And it's way more people who did show up who are ready to play that you would have to let down if you didn't play. And the third factor, how tight-knit is your group? If this is your first session with a bunch of people who you've already been long-term friends with, you probably have a way to contact the person who isn't there. And likely you also know probably why they aren't there if you're very tight-knit and know everything about everybody in your group. So armed with that knowledge, it is entirely up to you. Is this something that will affect them next week if they do show up? Is it something that won't affect them and they'll just come in next week and plop back in and be totally fine? That's up to you. Now, if you wish to take a page out of my book, here's the way I do things. Everybody I play D&D with are people I have been playing D&D with for years, so I know all of them very, very well. I very rarely play with new players anymore, so I am very, very tight-knit with everyone I play with. For the one campaign I'm running currently with 4 players, if one of them cannot make it, we simply do a one-shot that session instead. We'll all put our names in a hat, we draw, whoever gets their name drawn gets to be the dungeon master and create a one-shot in the next 30 minutes, and we just have a fun time playing a random one-shot. That way we still get to play D&D, we still get to enjoy our time because we took the time to show up for D&D, and the other person doesn't get to miss anything because they couldn't make it. From our larger games, however, if I'm running a table with 5 or 6 players, if 1 or even 2 people can't show up, we're still going to play without them, and we will treat them as NPCs. However, if anybody else needs to ask those characters anything very, very important, I ask them to hold off until next session, because while I can play them as NPCs, I cannot directly answer exactly what they will say because I don't know their characters that well. Only the players know their characters that well. However, because I am tight-knit with all my players, I do allow them to say if they are going to miss a session, regardless of how big our group is, if they want us to wait, they are allowed to ask us to wait. They also have the choice to just say, hey, I'm going to miss out, but please play without me and fill me in afterwards. Now, I don't recommend doing this for a brand new group because it gives way too much leeway for people you may not know very well. Because if you're ready to start a campaign and everybody else has showed up and that one player says, hey, I'm not going to be able to make it this week, can we wait till next week? And then they do it again and again and again, you're just waiting for one person who is inevitably not going to make it. And everybody else who can is stuck waiting on them as well. And that's not fair to them. But at the end of the day, it's up to you, the dungeon master, most of the time. Do you want to play with the people who did show up, or do you want to wait for that 1 or other 2 people so they can also get involved? It's okay to play without them. It's okay to give them a recap. It happens. Life happens. It's also okay to wait 1 week and say, hey, we're going to wait till everybody's here so we can all enjoy this together.